Good afternoon and welcome to my humble model railway, Bedstead Junction. Sorry I've not been with you for a little while. I think my last video I made was on my newly acquired Dappled Class 22 baby warship. I've just been absolutely rushed off my feet with various things I've been needing to do, and this is a Thursday night now. I'm able to just look down now and just sit down, have a nice rest, and get a few things done. Now today is it's Thursday the 5th of June. Just have to look that date up. A little bit tired, but I'm going to try my best with this video. Now this video has come about as a result of a question from AD Pullen. Now AD, sorry if I've missed any of your videos or anything else, and any other people I've subscribed to, like Proper Chuffed and Model Railways Unlimited, people, all you good people out there. I've not had a chance to really dedicate my time to the model railway hobby as much as I would have liked in the last month. I'm going to be catching up and probably trying to do some binge watching. So if any of you out there and I've missed your videos, I'm going to try and catch up on that. So sorry I've not watched and commented. Now, AD raised a question about the running of the Hornby Adams radial tank. Now I will say this, I bought this second hand off eBay. It was in relatively good condition, exterior wise. Out of the box it ran like an absolute dog. In fact, if it was a dog you would have shot it. I ended up replacing two different things, and I'll go through why I did this and why I think you should look in both areas before you jump in. Now I've had this before in locomotives, and it's hard to demonstrate what I do with my hand. It's sort of like, it's going forward like this, like that. Room, like you know, it's kind of starting and stopping, and you think, well, why is it doing that? And you do all the usual suspects, like checking the axles are free, the crank pins are all done up properly and everything's done up right. And then you look at the suspect the motor. One thing I have found on at least a couple of my locomotives now is not being the locomotive, it's been the drive gear between the worm drive and the finder drive on the axle. So the problem's been somewhere there, and that was what happened with my Adams radial tank. And the fundamental problem, I believe, was that the actual idler gear between the worm drive of the motor and the axle drive was actually split or deformed or broken in some way. I'm going to give you some details now, so if get a pen and paper, you can always replay this. I had to replace the motor first of all. I tried that, and that's X7000 is the actual Hornby reference number, and you can still get those motors, Adams radial tank motor and worm drive. You can get that. And then the actual Adams radial gear set is X7006, and I had to replace that as well. And then after I did all that, give them everything a good cleaning service, this locomotive has been running really well. So if you've got an Adams radial tank, have a look at both components. So it could be the motor is about to burn out, it could be the idler gear is slightly split, and what happens is, of course, it becomes deformed. So it's like, you know, it's like this when it's spinning, and obviously it's trying to press up against the motor and everything, and it's jamming that way. And that's what I believe to be the problem on mine. Replacing the motor is a relatively easy job, and that's all down to really learning soldering skills, which I'm getting better at that gradually over the years. And now, without any further ado, we're going to have a little running session, and we'll talk about the Adams radial tanks, and we're going to have a nice little Southern Railway running session tonight. I say it's a Thursday night. It's a one night that I've got to actually stay in, and then I'm literally out almost all the rest of the week on various things. So This is my big chance to do this. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the video. Get your popcorn ready and away we go. I'll turn the camera around and then we'll get started. Okay, so it's a pretty old saying, I know, but they say the proof of the pudding's in the eating. I think that's a motto. And on the track, right down by this signal box there, we've got the Adams radial tank. We're going to go for a little bit more light. We can get that. There we go. And then we'll... there we are. So we should have a little bit more light on the subject now. That's the video lamp that's on top the my camera. Okay, so let's go into 4th gear and we can watch the locomotive perform. Now, being honest about it, it's not the fastest of locomotives in the world going around the track, but it's not meant to be. This is probably an authentic speed, what you can see it running at now, which is probably on about a 50 speed, well not even halfway now, and you can see it's running absolutely smoothly now. Like I say, I had to replace the intermediate gears. Not that difficult to do once you've got the motor out. Another problem which can happen as well on some of these locomotives, and it did happen to one of the other ones we're going to see tonight, is the actual gear that goes onto the actual driving axle with the wheel set, and that can sometimes split as well, and that will not only result in jerky running, that will almost certainly and finally result in total loss of drive. We'll hear the motor spinning frantically and there'll be no movement of the engine. Okay, so the Adams radial tanks used on the southern region, the big 4. This is what it looks like it'd be our service. Black with an H crest and with a nice red lining. Really nice model by Hornby. I say I'm not going to let that sort of judge actual locomotive as a model, simply because it's a second-hand purchase, and when you buy second-hand models, you've done. If you ever have a problem, you've got some choices. Number one is obviously send it back, and that will be what most sensible people would do. You could call me not so sensible or maybe different, but I just like to tinker, I like to mend things, and I can't help it. I just like to make something work. If something's not working right, I like to delve into it and find out what the actual problem is. And I've learnt with experience over the years a lot of things which you could try in order to get a locomotive running properly. And on some of mine, like I say, replacing that worm drive, well, the gear below the worm drive on the motor will sometimes actually cure your problems. They're running beautifully now, this locomotive. These are probably most famous for being seen on the Lyme Regis branch. The Lyme Regis branch, very, very windy. I believe that there's a rather large viaduct on that line, which is made of concrete, and then the actual railway, I believe, terminated above the town, on the higher part of the town, much the same as the Uppercombe station, I believe. And it was closed under beaching cuts, along with lots of other branch lines which ran from the southern main line. And really what we're left with now is just the Barnstable branch. The line has been goes on now to Oakhampton again. That's been reopened as a station. Whether or not they'll ever restore the entire Southern Railway route is another matter again. I think if there ever was a really disastrous sea breach at Dawlish, which has very often happened, hasn't it? I think the Great British Rail or our modern railways must be wishing that they still had that line as an alternative going via Oakhampton and then down to Plymouth. Beautiful little model, look at that, running really well. And I'll demonstrate to you because I'm going to take this one over what has been for many locomotives a bit of a difficult junction. And last time I tried this, it actually works quite well. It's pulling two BR Mark 1 coaches. Now for those of you who like shouting at the screen and everything else, I'll give you a chance to do that. Yes, it's BR Mark 1 coaches, which are quite correct in my belief. But, well, for the period anyway. What coaches were actually used on the branch, I'm not sure. Other locomotives which were used were the IVUT 264 Class 2 tanks, I believe they were used on there, like other things. But these were really deemed to be the most suitable locomotives for use on that branch. Now we'll just let you watch my locomotive go round the track. You see how smoothly it goes. We'll do some different camera angles in just a moment. I've got lots of boxes out which I'm going to rearrange a little so I can have a look at this for you. Right, now this Adams radial tank, the one I bought, is R3333 BR Early 442T Adams Radial 30584. DCC ready, minimum radius 438mm, I believe is radius 2. Okay, so for those of you who want to put a DCC chip in, yes you can, it's DCC ready. For those of you who like a bit of box presentation, that's a really good representation of what it looks like when you actually get out of the box. And a brief history. In 1882, to support the ever increasing London suburban traffic of the London and South Western Railway, William Adams, the locomotive superintendent, ordered 71 new class 415 442T engines. Developed from the earlier rebuilt LSWR 46 class, the 415 class locomotives were all constructed away from the LSWR workshops at Nine Elms, which were at full capacity. They were built by R. Stevenson, Nielsen and Co., Bayer Peacock and Dubs and Co. between 1882 and 1885. So just think that these locomotives are running on our railways for 80 years or more, all constructed to the same basic design. Those leaving the works after 1884 had slightly larger side water tanks and deeper fireboxes. And later modifications saw the trademark Adams stovepipe chimney being replaced by a lip version. The addition of coal rails to the bunker and the finishing of double slide bars and crossheads in place of the original single bars. Now these were actually superseded by the Drummond M7 class and by the grouping of 1923 only 30 locomotives made it to the Southern Railway stock book. By 1927 only 2 engines remained, although in 1946 they were joined by a further locomotive purchased from the East Kent Railway. All three were finally withdrawn from service in 1961. Now it goes on to mention various things here. Our locomotive was built at Dubs & Co, Glasgow during 1885. One of the last batch of 10 built. Withdrawn in January 1961. It was in December that year, before 30584 was cut up at Eastleigh Works. Okay, so this one did not make it into preservation. So the reason why 3 locomotives were kept were for use on the Lyme Regis branch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this one in. First of all, I'll let you see it running through the small country station which I've got. And then we'll finally go into the branch line. And perhaps we can, I know it's not realistic or anything else, but we can imagine this one maybe going off onto the branch line, or being on the branch line for Lyme Regis. I mean, it's one of a number of holiday destinations which are no longer attached to our main railway network. The remaining branch, like I say, the Barnstable branch via Oakhampton and the Exmouth branch, all that remain. The Seaton branch, that's a home with the Seaton tramway. That's got trams running on it, and I recommend you visit there, so you can still get some kind of glimpse as to what the Southern Railway branch lines were like in their heyday. So we're just going to move the camera angle round. You can see it now going through my country station there. Really having a nice time here tonight. So really glad I'm back on the tracks again. Now we're going to go around one more time before we actually go into the branch line station. Okay, so let's just see how it runs. Over there, over that point, nice and easy, and into the station we go. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Okay, so we're just going to switch back now, and we're going to have a look at another train. Now, the 2 locomotives here may look very similar, but one's a larger class than the other. Let's zoom in a little so we can get a nice bit of focus on it. So, what we got in the foreground is 30737. Is a BR livery, early quest once more, and it's King Uther, but UHTER I think. Look at that on the box in a minute. I don't know if I pronounced that quite right. I think he was in Arthurian legend, he was King Arthur's father. Now the King Arthur class, they were named after characters or places in Arthurian legend, and of course going back in the, well, even up to today, even going back to Victorian times and right up to today, people will be going to places like Tintagel or other places in Cornwall and in Somerset, looking for King Arthur, looking for the places associated with the legend of King Arthur. And so some of these locomotives, their names and etc., possibly may have actually fired the imagination of many a traveller to go in search of King Arthur. Now the one that's just behind it here is a much larger Lord Nelson class, and that's Lord Rodney. Okay, so we're going to give each one a nice little run now, and then we'll see how we go. Now, if there's any problems with the running of this, I've actually only just put this track out this afternoon, so any problems there I might need to actually rectify by giving some of the fish plates a wiggle, but we'll see how we go. Okay, let's go and do a change of points, and then we can see if we can get underway. And I'm going to explain to you about some of the things that went wrong with this King Arthur class. I've covered this before, but some of you may not have seen the video. Now I'm going to have to do a bit of cheating here, because the train is slightly too long to accommodate. What would happen is that the tail end of both trains will clash, because the actual train with the Lord Nelson class is slightly too long. So let's go into reverse and we'll see how we do. Okay. Now let's see if that does the trick. Okay, we're actually fired up the wrong locomotive there. I want to run that one second actually in the order. There we go. Sack the signal. Like I said, I've not run the change for quite some time, so we're just getting back in the saddle once more. No, I don't think we're actually whaled correctly there either. All the joys of live video, of course. Ah, there we go. Front pony choke's not quite on. Right. That's how we do now. There we go. Perfect. Stop at the signal. Pardon me. And a quick change of points and we'll be underway. Now, as you see, this one's running quite well now. King Uther, King Arthur class. This is an older model. It's going back to the mid 2000s, I'd say. Our 2623 BR 460 King Arthur class N15 King Uther 30737 DCC ready. Built for 48mm track, which is second radius of course. There we go. That's what we can see going around now. Now this locomotive would have tested the patience of a saint, and I managed to get there eventually with it. Disaster number one. The valve gear fell completely to pieces, and that's where the slide bars coming out of the cylinders. We'll have a look. Well, I can show you on the box actually the picture there to demonstrate. There's your slide bars for the cylinders there. They came out of the cylinders, so the valve gear came flying out onto the track. Now I managed to disassemble all the running gear and put that back together again. I actually glued those slide bars in to the cylinders. So famous last work, but I don't think they'll be coming out now. They're well fixed in. Then I had it running for a little while, and all of a sudden it stops running altogether, and the motor was spinning, but the train was going nowhere. And that turned out to be the gear on the wheel set had gone wrong. That needed to be changed. So I bought a new wheel set for this now, including the new cog. Of course, you're willing to send it back territory for a lot of you here, but like I say, I'm one of life's tinkerers. I can't help it. I've just got to have a go. And the last thing was, and this one some of you may not worry about, but I did. On the tender, there's a couple of doors here, and one of those was missing. And you couldn't buy that as an individual spare. I couldn't find it, so I ended up buying an alternative tender, which I'm running on now. But this one has actually got real coal in it, so someone's actually gone to a lot of trouble on this one, on this tender. But that did, in the end, cost me a lot of time and effort and a small fortune to put this locomotive finally right. I say, I think when you see a part missing, like a door from the tender there, that there, the handrail on, I just couldn't unsee it. I was driving around the bend, so I had to fix it. Am I glad that I went through all that to get this one running? Yes. Because now I know, I've got the confidence that I can actually fix one of these locomotives and get it going if there's a problem. It's putting 3 Southern Railway coaches. I say it's in early BR green livery with the early crest. So that would be the crest it would have worn between nationalisation in 1948 until 1956 when the actual final crest came in. Yeah, now looking at this, you can see a more modern version of this here. They're going from just about 1730, well, around about just over 100 to 130 is the average price if you wanted to buy one. And these were used on the main expresses between Waterloo and the West Country. Now, if you imagine that the Southern Railway rivals the Great Western, certainly for the important traffic going to Plymouth. And then on into Cornwall, the rivalry still continued. A 2-cylinder 460 express passenger locomotive designed by Robert Urie, and again U-R-I-E, so if I pronounce that wrong, please forgive me. And they were all built between 1918 and 1927. And they hauled the early ones hauled the heavy express passenger trains to South Coast ports and further west to Exeter. After the Lord Nelsons, they were the second biggest 460 passenger locomotives on the Southern Railway. I could reach speeds of up to 90 miles per hour. Now the station they would have been using for the Southern Railway would have been Exeter Central Station. That's still open, as of course is the railway line between Waterloo and Exeter. That runs through Salisbury. And as mentioned previously, there are still some of the branch lines open, but really there was a bloodbath of branch lines, not only on the Southern but also on the Great Western. It was actually seen in the Beeching report that people were buying cars in ever increasing numbers. Also for holiday resorts, people were joining the jet set and heading off to Spain for sea, sun and sangria. And it was seen that maybe the holiday resorts were, in Britain at least, were a thing of the past. That they wouldn't be as popular as they once were. Me personally, I still love our British holiday resorts. And I can imagine one of these locomotives flying down the track, say between Salisbury and Exeter. Maybe pulling something like the Atlantic Coast Express, perhaps. There were 74 of these locomotives built. Now the locomotives that they would be likened to, if they were up against the opposition of the Great Western Railway, would be really the Saints, the Stars, the Cass and the Castles. It's a beautiful model now, really, really nice. I'm so glad that I persisted and got this repaired. And in my previous videos, I do actually cover all the things I had to do on this locomotive to make it run right. That's really lovely. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stop recording just a moment. In fact, because I'm going to be running out of time on the camera, but we're going up to the signal box now, and we're going to pull into the station because I want to have a look at Lord Rodney. So I'm just going to stop the camera just briefly and restart it, and that means that I'll get another half hour's worth of recording time. Right, so away we go into the station. Now I've got to try to make sure I don't collide with the coach of my other train being pulled by the Lord Nelson. Now I think we've just about got away with it. So let's watch it go in gracefully into the station now. Let's see. Beautiful runner, what a beautiful runner. That is really, really nice control on there. In fact, you need that level of control on a railway like this. Because obviously if you suddenly tweak the controller too far, you're over the main line and off the track onto the floor. I say I've done previous reviews of both of these locomotives, so if you want to look back over those videos, they're there for you to see. Now we're just going to do a quick change of points, and then we're going to be running our Lord Nelson class Lord Rodney. I see the biggest 460 on the Southern Railway, and we're going to talk a little bit as well about the rivalry between the Southern Railway and the Great Western. Just quick assistance from the hand of the giants there. So I'm going to need some more assistance. Like I say, the joy of live video, if everything ran smoothly all the time, would be rather boring, wouldn't it? Now, so let's have a look now and just see. Are we away now? No, still not quite. I should have really just rerouted this locomotive and cut my losses, but let's have a look. There we go. Now we are on the track. Over the junction there, and that is a really difficult junction there. That there is literally, if you're coming off the main line, it's a left hand point going into a right hand point. Straight off the curve. So you can imagine that is not the easiest of junctions to manage. And yet most of my locomotives can actually do this quite easily. Now let's have a quick change of points. And pardon my me getting in the way slightly. There we go. The Lord Nelson class. Not so numerous as the King Arthur's. Now, I will be fair to Hornby. When I bought this locomotive, it ran perfectly well straight out of the box. It's a larger locomotive compared to the King Arthur's. Now, one of the reasons for that was that, and it was certainly something which affected what was to become of all of the big four, was that there was suddenly a need for much larger and powerful locomotives. And that's probably something which has occurred with the Great Western, and then the NNER, the Southern, all the big four, the Midland. Because trains were getting heavier and heavier. Needing more and more powerful engines. And this was, like I say, it's the most powerful, the largest of the 460s. And in fact, I'm looking at the box now, and yes, it does say, in order to cope with the steadily increasing weight of express passenger traffic on the Southern Railway in the early years of grouping, Richard Monksell, Chief Mechanical Engineer, needed a locomotive that was more powerful than the King Arthur class, but one that would still conform to various gauging and weight issues within the region, and capable of hauling a 500-ton train at a speed of 55 miles per hour. Now they had to fit within the profile of the King Arthur class. Now I do believe that these were 4-cylinder engines rather than 2. Now I believe that the first one was built on August 11th, 1926. Although there were areas for improvement, there was enough confidence to actually order a further 15 engines and a further 5. And the decision was made to name the class after naval leaders. The Southern Railway Publicity Department went on promoting the introduction, basing the claim on the class being the most powerful express locomotive in Britain, with a theoretical charging effort of 33,300 feet-pounds. That was actually true until the advent of the GWR building the King class, and a lot of people actually would argue that the King class was only built to trump the Lord Nelson class in tragic effort to win the actual crown as a powerful locomotive. Our locomotive entered traffic in October 1929. It was not withdrawn from traffic until February 1962. Now obviously the 1960s was going to be the transition between steam and diesel. What we think of that is down to personal preference. Obviously the King classes were also on the Great Western, were also withdrawn in 1962. That's the Lord Nelson class, Lord Rodney. Now it's R3635, VR early Lord Nelson class, Lord Rodney, number 30863. So we'll just turn ourselves around a little. We can see our train whizzing on its way now. Probably take this Pullman coaches on here, and this is probably going to be a very prestigious boat train heading towards the port of Plymouth. There we go. Again, second radius, 48mm, DCC ready. My actual layout is analogue. I'm tempted to go DCC, but that would involve me having to convert a hell of a lot of locomotives or sending them off on that's the ones that are not DCC ready. So that's left me with a slight dilemma. I'll just let you watch this one go around the track while I look something up. Yes, in fact that's quite right, if you believe what's on Wikipedia. They were intended for continental boat trains between London, Victoria and Dover Harbour, but were later used for express passenger work to the southwest of England, and 16 of them were constructed altogether. So, compared to the King Arthur class, they were far less numerous. And the same went for the King class. There were only 30 King class locomotives built. Right now, there will be a slight lack of continuity here, simply because the battery ran out on my camera. Something I wasn't expecting, just came on suddenly. So I think we're mentioning the fact that only 30 King class locomotives are built for the Great Western Railway, as opposed to 171 castles. And it's the same situation, so the King Arthur class on the southern were much more numerous than the Lord Nelson class, and the same went for the largest locomotive, the Kings. There was a far smaller number of Kings compared to castles. Now the reason for that in many ways may have been weight restrictions. Certainly with the rivals to the Lord Nelson class, the Kings, they were very much held by the constraints of the weight limits of the railway. I should imagine that might be the case also with the Lord Nelsons. Now, like I say, as far as the model is concerned, there's very good reviews there. I did a review on this one. What I would say is, out of the box, it ran absolutely perfectly. I love it, this locomotive. And it suits my needs perfectly well. Nothing's fallen off. Whereas with my poor old King Arthur class, I got the impression there that there may have been a slight lack of glue in the assembly of that one, because it did lose some parts. When it lost the door off the tender, and also the vault gear fell to bits. I think, if I remember rightly, the chimney may have come off as well, if I remember rightly. So there were a number of things that went wrong. In fact, unfortunately with the King Arthur class, Sam's trains, I think he bought a King Arthur class of the same era perhaps, and when he got his own it was smashed to bits. Okay, so unfortunately there was a period of time where Hornby locomotives were certainly coming out of the box damaged. I've only ever had brand new out of the box one locomotive that was damaged, and that was a Hornby Star class. And I did get a replacement from Rails and Shepherd. Shout out to them for that. So very, very well done to them. You know, and I say, it's nice when you get a locomotive, isn't it, when it runs perfectly well out of the box, and I can echo that experience here. Now, if you like what you see, please press that like button and subscribe. Subscribing doesn't cost you anything, and if you ring that bell, the bell symbol, you'll be made aware of future videos from me. Again, there's been some pretty large gaps since I've been very busy as of late with various things, and it's made me enjoy this now, my latest video, making this video at least, all the more. I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed making it. And once again, thanks to all the people who subscribe to my channel, and I hope to give you more content in the near future. And on that note, I'll bid you farewell and good night.